it's worth.
How much has East Gwillimbury paid the Conservation Authority in fees?
I'd like to know.
Yeah.
Let's see if we've got a good sound system. We'll start with that tonight. So those that are at the back right now, may I ask Lawrence. Lawrence, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, so we're good to go. Thank you. I'm at the right distance from the mic, I guess. Just want to welcome everyone here tonight, all the residents. My name is Thomas Webster. I've been CAO for East Gwillimbury for, this is my 15th year. And pretty fortunate to have that position. It's a great town. And this is clearly one of our more popular items for public to get engaged in. And I think it's property rights are one of the most important matters, and I really commend the folks that are here tonight and some of the folks that organized some of the things that led up to this on the resident side. I think it's really important. So what I can tell you is this is not a council meeting. We're not at town hall. We do have all of our elected officials here tonight. The mayor and all of our council members are in attendance. They want to observe and see just exactly what's going on. And we're looking at passing a new zoning bylaw. And a little bit of history to that. It's our old bylaw is a little dated. It goes back to 1997. There was a lot of things that happened since 1997. Some things like the Greenbelt Act that came in from the province in 2005 that changed a lot of rules. But we were updating our zoning bylaw. We've taken about, I think we're in almost our third year now of discussion and consultation on how to get it right. And what I find is as we move along in this process, there's a lot of information that gets out there and it becomes a little bit of misinformation. So what I can tell you is some facts right now from me as CEO. In 1997, the town council passed a zoning bylaw that put an environmental zone on certain private properties. That is exactly what we are delivering or attempting to deliver. The 1997 zoning bylaw for private property from a town perspective. That's what the request was. That's what we as staff are delivering. The Greenbelt Act and other regulatory agencies and groups that are doing important things is not under our jurisdiction. To be fully transparent, we have to notify the public. If you come in and you want to build a garage or a deck or a house, I think that you want all accurate and transparent information. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give you the best information possible for not only what we do as a town, but for what other agencies and the provincial government requires. So on that note, tonight was about exchanging information. We hopeful it stays in a helpful manner of friendly information exchange. I'm going to introduce a few folks who are going to play some roles tonight. Mark Velchich is going to moderate tonight. Mark is our General Manager of Corporate Services. He's our Treasurer. He's done facilitation before. Mark, can you stand up so the folks know who you are? I will give you credit. The Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority, who's a big part of what happens on property, we're invited to tonight's meeting, and we've got senior staff from there. We've got Michael Walters, their CAO, and Rod Baldwin is their General Manager of Development Services. They're here to exchange information, transparently share with everybody, and I understand Rob's going to make a short presentation as well. What I can tell you is we invited the province about 3 weeks ago. We went through Minister Clark's office, who's in charge of the growth plan and housing, and unfortunately we're advised that the province was, their staff and themselves were a little busy tonight, so they couldn't attend. So we don't have provincial representatives here, but I'll tell you what you do have. You have town representatives here, town staff, and when to listen and take comments, and questions and answers, and you have the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority. So I just wanted to start off tonight, put in a little context. I'm going to introduce Mark Velchich. He's going to moderate. We have General Manager Marco Ramuno. He's been with us since the beginning of the year. Believe me, Marco brings incredible experience. Now, everyone's not going to hand out their resume tonight. What I can tell you is Marco started with York Region in the mid-90s. Marco went to Vaughan and helped them through their major growth phase. Marco spent about the last dozen years in Aurora and helped them grow through some significant times as well. And we're fortunate to have a guy like Marco leading our development services area with over 30 years experience. So Mark, I'm going to pass it to you, and all I would ask is let's do things in a respectful tone, and we want to inform people, and maybe we'll be informed ourselves. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. So I'm just going to make a couple of very, very brief comments. Just first of all, a little bit of additional context for the evening tonight. So the intent of this evening has been, as Tom mentioned, there's been almost probably about a third year now of sort of consultation around the comprehensive zoning bylaw review. And there's been a number of formal meetings, council meetings, formal presentations, deputations, etc., submissions. And so the intent of this evening was really to try and provide a few hours with an intent of sort of having a much more informal opportunity for dialogue amongst yourselves, dialogue with staff, and to try and get information, general information that you might want, or maybe even property-specific information. So I know that the folks from both the town planning function as well as the authority have got equipment here that can help them look up specific properties. If there's things that you've got that you're concerned about in your own property and you want to get answers, tonight's a really good opportunity to have a conversation with the folks that are here tonight. So the portion that we're going to have right now is intended to be fairly brief and really just factual and informational in nature, provide you a little bit of an overview of the comprehensive zoning bylaw. Mr. Ramuno is going to do that for us, and then we'll hear from the Conservation Authority staff, Rob Baldwin, talk to you a little bit about what is the mandate of the authority, what is their purpose, what is their focus, how do they do their business, and just give you a little bit more information, because for a lot of folks, that's a little bit more of an unknown, so really appreciate the authority being here just to try and provide a little more clarity on what they do, why they do it, and how they do it. And then after the presentations, we are here until, I think we're scheduled to about 8:30, but obviously we're a little flexible on that. And really, there's lots of opportunity after the two brief presentations, we hope to have a lot more informal dialogue with you folks again. So there's lots of opportunity. Please take advantage of it this evening. And with that, I'm just going to turn it over to Marco to do a little presentation from the town's perspective.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, everybody can hear me. Good evening, everybody. So I've just got a few slides. I just want to go through, provide a bit of context with respect to sort of the history of our preparation of our zoning bylaw and the appeal. And this is really a timeline chart. We do have a number of displays around the back room as well. So, as you heard, back in May of 2018, Council enacted the new comprehensive zoning bylaw that covered the entire municipality. That was approved by Council May of 2018. Subsequent to that, and sometime in June or July, the Conservation Authority appealed the zoning bylaw with respect to the environmental protection zone area. In March of 2019, some of you folks may have attended the I.C.L.E.I, which is the place of the former Ontario Municipal Board. It's now known as the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal. There was a case management conference. So they established sort of an initial list, identified the parties who were involved, the town conservation authority, and there were a number of residents who requested party status. So you may have received some notification in the past from I.C.L.E.I. Since that time, actually, as Tom mentioned, probably since May or June of last year, town staff has been working with the Conservation Authority to mediate the issue of the appeal to our zoning bylaw. And that really resulted in, let's go back, and I think Tom mentioned that back in May of 2018, the zoning bylaw that Council approved maintained the previous environmental protection zone. So no new individual private properties were zoned EP. Council's decision was very clear. We reverted back. We maintained the earlier EP zone. And some of you have seen some of the schedules around the room. If you have any questions, we have staff here who can point out exactly how your property and what your property is zoned. So we have been working with the Conservation Authority, and Rob will come up next and we'll provide a brief presentation as well. And so we're at the point where we have prepared updated mapping, and we're holding this community open house with the intent of proceeding to another future council meeting. It may happen later on this month, next week, to get council to approve the minor changes. And I'll explain the changes that relate to the resolution, because there's some confusion with respect to the extent of the changes. Again, the changes really relate to there are no additional zoning classifications being placed on anybody's property. If you were rural or residential back in May of 2018, you're staying that way. What we have done is we've added a couple of the maps, and you'll see them around the room. They're for illustrative purposes, the regional woodlot, the provincial Oak Ridges Moraine, and greenbelt mapping as references within our zoning bylaw, because our zoning bylaw deals with the specifics of what uses are permitted on your property, but you also need to be aware of other provincial legislation and regulation and land use controls that are out there, being the provincial Oak Ridges Moraine greenbelt plan, the regional official plan. They have regional woodlots that they're responsible for protecting, and as well as the Lake Central Region Conservation Authority hazard land mapping, which is really their floodplain and their regulated limit. So again, as you've heard, our aim here, council's aim has always been to uphold the private property rights, and so your zoning on your property is being maintained as it was back in May of 2018, rural or residential. It won't go back to the environmental protection zone as council's direction. We're still maintaining our commitment to environmental stewardship and protection, and we do have environmental policies within our official plan. It's a broader-based document that sets up those objectives of where we want to grow as a municipality, and the environmental protection policies as well, that deals with some of those environmentally sensitive areas. Again, promoting clarity of land use regulations, and this really speaks to those additional schedules or maps, just to make it clear to our residents and landowners, clear and transparent, that there are other land use controls that you need to be aware of. So if someone comes into the office, wants to have a discussion about what their property is zoned, staff will sit down with you, go through those maps. We'll also reference and refer you to any other provincial pieces of legislation or conservation authority regulated area policies or regs that may impact or affect your property. So this resolution that we're talking about, what does it look like? So again, just going back in time, this is the amount of land that was proposed to be environmental protection that's currently under appeal. But again, back in May of 2018, Council's direction to staff was to go back to the 1997 EP zone. And so that is what those schedules around the room reflects. Only those areas in green have an EP zone layer on them. The majority of those properties are in public ownership. A lot of them are valley lands, part of the stream corridor, etc. But as part of the resolution that we've been working on with the authority, we agreed to add, and you may have heard, 1,000 acres of public lands to be zoned EP. The public lands that are town-owned parks, regional-owned forest lands that we've added to the EP zone. And no additional private properties have been added.
Do those have buffer zones on them? On the public lands?
Again, this is the zoning bylaw. They may include some type of buffer, meander belt. It all depends on the specifics.
So could it affect private property?
No, again, that's the zoning layer. There's no change to that. That zone layer goes back to 1997 and even prior to that. This schedule has always been in our zoning bylaw. It's not really an operative part of the zoning bylaw. It doesn't zone the property. This is just a reference map that indicates the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority regulated limit. Right? So two-tone color, it's all within a regulated area. The lighter blue is the actual floodplain areas. And again, if you go to any zoning bylaw in the province, I can almost assure you that all zoning bylaws have these type of reference maps in the bylaw. And this is the other one I mentioned that we agreed to add. This is the provincial Bridges Moraine map layer for the town of EG and the Greenbelt layer. Those are provincial pieces of legislation that were brought into effect back in 2001 and 2005. But again, this is just to reference our landowners in town that there's another piece of provincial legislation that may apply to your property.
So Marco, may I ask on that one?
Sure.
It's a poor color.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to see. But the Greenbelt legislation, how much of the town property did that impact and put regulation over?
So that area, if you can see in the slight shade of green and brown, covers 75% of the town of EG. So we're approximately 62,000 acres in total. That area covers 75%, about 47,000 acres.
And so Marco, can you just describe, I just want to make it a little interesting. But prior to this, were you able to sever a lot?
So the biggest change with the Greenbelt and Oak Ridges Moraine for most people's property rights, if you had a lot prior to the Greenbelt, in most cases, depending on the official plan policy, you were allowed to build, construct a dwelling, and in some instances, you're even allowed to sell the property to construct another dwelling, and some limited development. With the Greenbelt and the Oak Ridges Moraine, it's a clear policy within those documents at the provincial level that, and some of you people may notice, severances are not allowed. So you're not allowed to divide your property. However, if you do have a piece of property, whether it's an acre or 10 acres, if it's vacant, you would still be allowed to get a building permit for a home. You come into the town, we work with you to go through the building permit process. But that was one of the biggest restrictions for most property owners. You weren't allowed to sell your property. Now there are other restrictions as well with respect to development industry wanting to develop their property. If you're in a Greenbelt and Moraine, limit opportunities for any significant development. So this is just another schedule. This is a regional woodland schedule. That's part of their official plan, which is a broader document, which really sets the regional structure for urban development within the York region, as well as some environmental protection policies. So this just reflects what the region considers to be under their regional tree bylaw to be a woodland. So again, if you're own property that's covered by the blue land. It's just something that you need to be aware of if you're coming in for a building. Doesn't mean that you can't develop, you can't build your home. You just need to be aware of their policies with respect to how many feet you may be able to remove. Okay, so I think this is my last slide, and I really just want to end by saying, I've got a number of my planning staff here. There's 4 of them here. We've got the Conservation Authority staff. So once Rob is finished with his presentation, I still welcome anybody to go around the room if you have specific questions about your property, where it lies, what the zoning is. We'll be able to answer your questions.
Is there going to be questions asked from the crowd? Because I'd like to hear questions.
We're gonna let Rob come up and do his presentation. And
Okay.
we'll allow we may allow some good questions. But again, real opportunity here for most folks is, if you have questions, we have a number of staff. If you have specific questions about zoning on your property, we're here to answer your questions. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Marco. Just a couple of points I want to make before we proceed. For folks that are interested in the materials that are up on the screen, I think our communications folks are going to make sure this is posted. Is that correct, Laura? We'll post that on the website.
That's correct. So it'll all be posted tomorrow on the website under the zoning bylaw area on the website.
So it'll be posted on the website. Sometimes when you see these things, there's a tendency to feel you've got to scribble down a bunch of notes. We prefer you to watch and listen and have dialogue tonight, and we'll make sure this information is all available to you so you don't have to transcribe it at your chairs. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob Baldwin from the Conservation Authority, just to give you a little bit of an overview of the mandate, role, responsibilities, and so on from the authority's perspective, and then there'll be an opportunity for some limited questions and answers in general terms, and then really what we want to get to after that is another session of informal dialogue amongst with the staff directly in the back. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mark. First off, pleasure to be here. I want to thank Mayor Haxton, Council, and staff for putting us on, allowing us the opportunity to be here to talk about our role, because this is really our first opportunity to sort of come before the public group, sort of explain some of the facets that the Conservation Authority has been involved in, and sort of, I guess, our role in the appeal that's been occurring. So basically, I'm going to walk you through really what our main mandate with respect to the zoning aspects or the regulatory aspects, which is our regulation. First off, I know there's a lot of questions out there that talk about what's the Conservation Authority's core mandate, and the Conservation Authorities actually predate Hurricane Hazel. The general assumption out there is that the Conservation Authorities were created after Hurricane Hazel to deal and respond to flooding. Actually, Conservation Authorities were created in the late 40s. The Lake Simcoe, back in the Upper Holland Valley, was created in 1951. The Hurricane Hazel was in 1954. And that kind of is really about integrated watershed management, the protection of the landscape for both economic development and environmental reasons. And that's really how it started. Hurricane Hazel came around and added a real focus on floodplains and natural hazards. And some aspects of the core mandate, some of you have seen the province has been discussing what that core mandate may be. And in the past, and the way the authority has been doing it for the past 60 odd years is includes the key one is flood warning and management, subwatershed planning, sort of diving down into that smaller scale watershed to understand what's going on. We also work to implement the various provincial legislation that occurs, like the Legislative Protection Plan, Redevelop Plan, etc. We also have had for a long history a restoration program that works with rural and urban landowners to repair the damage of the last 100 years. We're also involved in environmental education to provide the sort of environmental stewardship for the next generations. We're involved in the development review that goes on across the watershed and the natural hazard regulation that we're going to talk about today. And where the power comes from, so the Conservation Authorities Act was enacted in the 40s and has been amended many times over the decades. But really the power of the regulation that comes from that we operate under Section 28, which is a very specific line within the Conservation Authorities Act, but basically the province has empowered conservation authorities to enforce regulation dealing with natural hazards such as floodplains or wetlands. So where is that, are we now? What we operate under now is called Ontario Regulation 17906. It's pretty dry, it's a regulation, it is law. It is not a guideline or a policy, that it is a provincial law. This has been passed down by the province to the Conservation Authority. We're going to do some questions after.
That's like usually a law, it's called a law or an act, not a regulation.
Provincial regulations are law, the act regulations are any regulation under any
Not
act.
according to Black's law.
In the province of Ontario, regulations such as 17906, or it could be a regulation dealing with other aspects which have nothing to do with us. They are considered, it is a legal law, it's what we have been used and enforced. We are the administration for the province. The province has passed these on to the 36 Conservation Authority within the province of Ontario. The 179 is the specific regulation for Lake Simcoe, Nottawasaga, or Toronto, or if you're in Essex and Windsor, they have a specific reg specific to their watershed. It was implemented in 2006 by the Harris Conservative government. It was started, the original act and work that started was in 2003 and 4. The act became, the reg became law specifically in 2006, and they've been operating under that principle since then. And the big difference in 2006 was, prior to 2006, the area that was regulated was just floodplains principally. In 2006, the province added wetlands, steep slopes, unstable soils such as bedrock and harsh topography, and that changed the landscape of what is regulated a lot. Because before it was just floodplains, then you added in wetlands. And that's a large change to what was regulated in the landscape in Ontario. The regulation mapping that you saw, the composite map that Marco showed, those maps that are developed from a provincial standard guideline that the provinces ensure that all conservation authorities have to follow. And when the maps were produced in 2006, they had to go through months of peer review by the province and had to be signed off by the minister for the original set. So that process was extensive, and it went on for our development was about a 2.5 year process to get through that process with the provincial government. And in many cases, the system that we use for natural hazard protection, especially the floodplains, is considered to be one of the best in North America. Even though we do have flooding in Ontario, the risk in the conservation for areas is much lower than when you see other areas that don't have floodplain regulations, and the insurance damages, the impacts of infrastructure are significant. So what the guidance documents that are used were the province set out the Conservation of Ontario, sort of our parent agency, that really outlined the technical requirements. These are the guidelines that we help develop the map that you see, and or if you have a property question, you can ask our staff for that. And the goals of the regulation are really quite simple. The number one is the reduction of risk to life. It's protecting people. Like Hurricane Hazel, it was hundreds dead in the post-hurricane scenario. They don't want to have that happen again. We've seen what's happened in flooding across North America over the last 20 years, especially with the change in impacts of climate change. The other one is the reduction in flood damages, and we still see this in small scales. Our Lake Simcoe is fortunate. We do not have any really significant large-scale flooding issues that we've seen in other regions of the province or in Canada. The other aspect is also to disruptions to communities, infrastructure damage. You can't get EMS, can't get to, if a road's flooded, can the ambulance get to a residence in distress, etc. So those kind of things that we also are concerned about.
How are you putting a highway through that?
Sorry.
Putting a highway through the EP zone.
Other than for Brad.
How are you putting a highway there? You're just talking about it.
That's the province is building that, and they would have to build it with the same standards to ensure that it's flooded.
Obviously, we all protect the land, right? Yeah, we're all protected land, environmentally protected land.
Well,
That's fine.
I don't know. I can't answer your questions on that. I don't.
You just show us the slide.
So you're asking a question I can't answer. I do not ask the question. I don't actually have a role within that process. The province of Ontario is actually exempt from the regulation. I'm just telling you the truth.
So it's a law then?
The province is as a upper tier, as the upper tier government is exempt.
So laws don't apply to upper tier?
The province has their own set of rules.
Okay, that seems fair.
We will hopefully be consulted on the reference bypass and through the EA process, but it's up to the province. They do not need a permit. They're not supposed to build the highway.
I thought it was about human safety.
But I need a permit to build a house.
Sorry. I just should get the questions. If I can
Yeah, highway, but no
let me
steps.
get through the presentation. No, we have to take the questions. Yeah, we have staff here to help. So the approach is, it's an integrated approach. The hazard mapping, rate mapping involves everything. It's flood forecasting, warning, nature, education, opportunities like this to just be able to inform what goes on. We look at flood control works where we can. We're involved in a project right now in the town of Uxbridge where we're actually replacing a large culvert in the downtown to reduce the floodplain and reduce the risk of the residents in Uxbridge. And we also look at environmental land use planning with the town, municipalities, and the development community. So hazard lands, which is the key, is in hazard lands is basically lands that could be unsafe for development because of naturally occurring processes, associated with flooding, erosion, dynamic beaches, unstable soils, or bedrock. So basically, floodplains, wetlands, or soils. And in our area, the Lakes and watershed, basically we have the key areas. Floodplains is one of the most important. Meander belts is basically creeks would like to move; they're not static. And meander belts is where a creek could move over time and potentially impact a house or a road. Wetlands is the big one. Areas adjacent to the wetlands. Basically, the province has put a setback around wetlands to ensure that if there is activity that occurs around a wetland, it would not directly impact the wetland and impact the future of the environmental the success of that wetland.
Well, there's no wetland road,
I'm going to finish my presentation. Slope erosion, not as big an issue in our watershed because we don't have a lot of significant steep slopes, and water courses themselves are regulated. So what the floodplains? I'm going to walk through each one of those points just quickly to give you an understanding. So the floodplain is this Lake and watershed floodplain. The floodplain is based on the Hurricane Hazel event. It's the largest event that we have recorded data for. It's basically what's called a regional event. It's an approximate what they call a 1 in 350-year storm. The watershed mapping is basically developed in detailed floodplain mapping and models and using the digital elevations of all the properties within the Lake and watershed. And these are updated whenever we have new information or we get a new model update or we get a new digital elevation model that sometimes comes that increases the accuracy of these floodplain models. And one of the concerns is the increasing risk of climate change. The New Market a couple years ago, they had 3 1 in 100-year events in basically 3 weeks. You know, it's supposed to be 1 in 100 years. You had them 3 times in 1 month. They were always on Tuesdays. The meander belt, as I mentioned, is just a creek or a river can move. It's not static. So what's the maximum extent that creek could move so it won't be damaged? And they're very low concern, but they are considered part of the reg. Wetlands, not a wetland. This is the one that generally creates the most consternation and frustration with residents and landowners because it was added in 2006, and all wetlands are regulated at whatever type. And there are basically 2 types: unevaluated wetlands, right? There are 2 types: unevaluated wetland and provincially significant wetland. Wetlands and the mapping we use and the regulation we use are all identified and mapped by the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources Authority. They are the ones that provide us the maps. We just use the maps. They are what forms the reg. Every so often we get an update from them, and we use those to update the regulation map. They are the official delineator and authority on wetland mapping in the province of Ontario. Slope erosion, as I mentioned, not a big concern, especially in EG. EG is pretty flat. But there are a few instances along the Beaver River Valley and a few other areas that we do have some concerns. Water courses is just the creeks and streams themselves. They're protected. They're what pass the flood flows of water, fish habitat, etc. So the regulation limit that we administer is basically is the layering and addition of all these layers: water course, meander, wetlands, etc. And wetlands has either a 30-meter or a 120-meter setback, depending on what type, and that forms the regulated land. And this is sort of just an example of a composite map showing a couple of different components. And this presentation will be on the website that, as Mark mentioned. We also have all this available anytime you want on our website, so you can look at your property or any area by address, or just by cruising around the mapping to see what may be on your property, what's regulated, and there's an air photo base, so it gives you a good image of what's underneath it. And that's an example of just the web-based mapping. Our staff are here. Some of you already gone up to look and talk about your properties. And if you don't get to tonight, anyone can come in our office anytime and visit. We have a walk-in play encounter walk in, sit down with their staff, talk about the property, and get all the detailed information they would want on their property. So why permits and what's regulation? Well, development is a very broad definition under the Act, and it basically includes pretty much everything. Any building, construction, erecting of a building, any change to internal building or structure can be considered development, site grading, site alteration, changing the grades, moving dirt, illegal fill, all those things are part of the regulation. And so it's a very wide encompassing definition that the province has provided. And when we review a permit, we're supposed to look at 5 principal tests. And when you look at it, you're basically evaluating, does this affect flooding, yes or no? Does it affect erosion, yes or no? Dynamic beaches, not a big issue in East Gwillimbury. Pollution, does that activity increase or create an environmental risk? And the conservation of land. So when you look at that, you need a permit. Basically, a permit is required if development is occurring in one of these regulated areas. Okay, we work with the landowner or the developer, whoever it might be, the town, they need permits. Then how do we best achieve your goals and work to get something accomplished on your property? It is applicable law. Over in 17906 is applicable law under the building code and license protection plan. So basically that means is you need a building permit in a regulated area, a permit from the authority is required to ensure that that structure or building will be safe from any of the hazards. And it is rare that we can't find a solution. We issue about 1,000 permits a year, and typically only have to deal with denials of between 3 to 4. And then if you have a denial, there is an opportunity for hearings, and I'm going to talk about that. And enforcement is a big topic. I know it's a big topic in East Gwillimbury. Illegal fill has been a hot button issue in this watershed for years. My staff spend probably 80% of their time on the enforcement side dealing with illegal dumping and illegal fill. We have very little enforcement power. I don't have stop work. I don't have the ability to enter a property with a search warrant or anything like that. So dealing and curtailing illegal fill has been one of the biggest challenges of my career, and it's one that we are struggling to continue to struggle with, and have been trying to work with the province of every type for the last 10 years to try to find some solutions. And I know it's a concern in East Gwillimbury that I deal with the staff and members of council and the public on this on an almost daily basis. When we do run into an enforcement issue, we do try to bring it into compliance. We want to get everyone into the compliance state so that everything can be satisfied and you can live your life and have either a house or a garage or whatever it is. And prosecution is the last resort, and we try not to go through it. In case there is a file, this happens the odd time, but there is a certain house or a certain issue that cannot be solved. You can't find a way through it. It just can't comply. It's too unsafe or it's too risky. Every applicant has the right to a hearing. If there's a denial, you come before the board of directors, and it's basically an opportunity to share information and talk about how do we move forward, and the board can grant that approval. They have that authority over staff, or they can grant the denial as well. So that there's several mechanisms along the way, but we rarely get here. I don't think we've had a hearing in about the last year. We try always to find a solution. And all through this, we have to work through the relevant legislation that we are there to do. And it's tough at times. This is the most legislated watershed in Ontario. I don't disagree with that. We have a lot to go for, but we always try, and our mission of our staff and our authority is always to find a solution wherever we can. And that kind of cleans up it gives a good, quick version of the regulation. We'd be glad to help anyone out, whether they come to the back or come into our office anytime. And we're glad to take some questions, and hopefully we can clarify a couple of the answers around the role of the authority with respect to the zoning appeal and any other thing. So I'll turn it over to Mark to.
Can I ask why you appealed to town?
That's first one? Yeah, the first reason to appeal is basically when the council made the decision to revert back to the 1997 zoning. It brought the zoning bylaw out of conformity with the essential plan of the town and region. So we appealed for lack of conformity. We didn't just appeal for the zoning map, we appealed for lack of conformity.
So, but why would you cause the town such a headache just over that when it was our problem to deal with as a municipality? Why step in and appeal us?
So that's several reasons. One is it creates a nexus. You have an issue. You've got the zoning bylaw here. You have your official plan, your regional official plan, our regulation. And if one's not in lockstep with the other, you basically create a nexus that there's a problem.
Doesn't that mean there's a problem with the official plan?
Ross and I finished the question. And it creates a problem that So that creates conflict. We try to ensure that the regulation act, which has already been in the zoning bylaw since the 90s, so that everything is in sync, so that you're very clear on what's on the property. So we appeal that conformity creates a problem that anyone then that comes forward on a planning matter could appeal that, because technically it may not be in conformity with the official plan. It actually could create a bit of a planning nightmare.
So neighbors would turn on each other and appeal each other when they wanted to build a garage or build a shop?
That happens regularly now, but it would continue to happen.
So
probably.
could we not just wait until a provincial policy statement goes back to review and then we can change our official plan? Is that not?
The PPS versus policy statement is up for review right now, and there really isn't much in there that we've gone through that's really going to affect anything to do with the zoning or the official plan.
What are the chances that you
Rob, can you just repeat? Can you repeat your question?
We're going to repeat the questions because we understand that in the back of the room it's difficult to understand what the answer is when we don't know what the question is. So the first question was about why did the authority appeal? And Rob, you provided a rationale for that from the authority's perspective that is. And then there was another
Is that part of the current mandate though?
The second question, just so we can let the folks at the back know what that was.
What was it?
The second question that you asked, just so the
Well,
folks
I asked why you appealed the town's official plan, and then I said my second question I just asked right now was why not wait until the provincial policy statement goes back to be reviewed so the official plan can be changed, and then that would deal with a lot of your issues against us not being in conformity, because I see you're worried about us for not being in conformity.
So the question was then if the concern is around the conformity from the authority's perspective, why not wait until the province does further review from a policy point of view and then deal with it at that point? Rob?
First of all, the PPS review was actually announced well after the appeal, when the authority appealed. So.
But you could drop the appeal right now.
Yeah.
Today. Right today.
Sorry.
Hang on, I'm going to ask folks, if you don't mind, it's a little difficult to answer the question if we've got multiple questions at the same time. So give us a chance to answer the question, and then we'll get to the next question. If you don't mind, we can make it a little more effective for you as well.
I think we're just all agreeing with them.
Yeah, you could definitely drop the suit now, because the mandating legislation is under review, right? And you don't know what's going to happen with that. You don't know what the outcome is going to be, right?
So I think the point that's being made is why not drop the appeal? That's the question. We'll get to some other questions, just to give us a second. So Rob, if you can try and answer that one for us.
Well, we're trying to work to find a solution to ratify this and move this on. The PPS review is not going to affect the zoning bylaw.
How do you know that?
The draft is PPS doesn't have anything that affects the zoning bylaw.
Doesn't it allow us to relook at our official plan?
So we're working to find a solution to move this forward. And again, we're close on looking at an agreement to move this forward. They have a proposed zoning bylaw that we'll be reviewing. Does it meet the test of conformity? And it would probably be leading up to the region to make that test as the upper tier planning authority. And if that's the case, then hopefully we can withdraw. The one thing in the LJAP, in the appeal, the board member gave us very strict instructions on what we're supposed to do and follow to get to an agreement to ratify a settlement to move forward and move on.
But for an act of good faith, you could drop the appeal at any time, is that correct?
So if right now, if you drop the appeal, you're still out of conformity.
That's fine, but we can still get building permits.
The structure of that is...
Let me give it a shot. I think it's fair enough to say these folks are here today. Okay, so let's give them credit for that.
For sure.
The province who's proposing to build a highway, the province is going to be amending provincial policy statements. It's not here today. So we can't deal with conjecture. What we like to deal with is facts. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my opening comments. We were asked to deliver a zoning bylaw that kept 1997 property zoning from an environmental perspective for private property the same. That's what we're going to do. Number two, we're going to ask respectfully for the authority to withdraw their appeal. This is all on our website.
Number 3, we're going to ask the LPAT to not hold a hearing that wastes taxpayers' money. That's what the town is trying to deliver.
That's what happened with the official plan.
Stealing from us.
We are working with the authority. We think we have a solution. And I don't know if it's necessarily fair to ask them why they appealed at this point in time. If you want to have a roll back the rear view mirror and go back, we have a solution going forward. We're not even
You
sure.
have a solution going forward.
The
The
town,
residents do not.
town staff work for council who are in the crowd tonight. We were asked and directed to deliver the 1997 zoning for private property owners.
We asked you to fight with us at this LPAT hearing, and that's exactly what you have not
If I
done.
could finish, please. We were asked to have the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority withdraw their appeal. That is in process. That's part of this information exchange tonight. And the third element is we're asking the LPAT to withdraw their appeal. That's all I can share as far as information. If you want to make judgment or comment, I can't share.
Why can't you ask him right now? He's right there.
Can I say something? I'm a sod farmer in north town of Queensville. I have 600 acres up there. Anyway, you're talking about growth, man, green belt. Don't mind that. But I mean, you guys should start paying attention to your growth, man. Because you're talking about your ditches. These ditches around these towns are not maintained. The second concession ditch, there's been so much controversy over this ditch for the last 20 years. We've been trying to get it fixed, and nothing's getting done. We are getting flooded out every spring from all these catch basins in the town of East Gwillimbury, Sharon, over as far as doing Woodline Avenue, and you guys gonna have to start doing something about this, because we talk to these guys and nothing ever gets done. And I'm talking for the last 20 years. And we're blue, we talk to these guys, we're blue, we nothing ever gets done. Why? You get all kinds of money from these freaking developers for everything to be done out there. I mean, I'm just asking a simple question.
We've got staff here that are noting all of those points and comments, and perhaps can follow up with you directly when they get a chance when we finish this Q&A. Another question here, please.
Yes, I'd like to ask the conservation authority, will we rock
So I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna, I think that Rob's already indicated he's provided no rationale. We're trying to provide some liberty to folks in the room because we know how important this matter is to you. I think he tried to answer the question in terms of why they felt that it was important to do that, and I think he's indicated that they're working towards a decision around whether they can or can't. And quite frankly, I'm not going to put them on the spot any further in terms of what they will or won't do. At this point, I apologize, but I think that they're here to provide as much information as they can, and I think if you want to chat with them, they can give you a little bit more detail.
Could I ask how this is part of your core mandate to appeal, or because we're not in conformity?
So just before we get to that, there's another question right here. Just before we get there, there's a question right here. Please.
My turn, thank you. So one of my questions is, the town and the Simcoe Conservation keep saying that mapping, the Simcoe Conservation floodplain and regulated area mapping has been scheduled for a long time, all the way back to 97. And I think that it's important to reflect to people that map keeps changing. So it is not that
So the question and comment is that, number one is about the fact that the maps are not static, and so those maps can change over time. And so the frustration is we have a map, and then over time, if that map changes, and in some cases, the inference is that it may have changed because of a variety of reasons, including potentially other things that have been developed. And so then there's a frustration about that then potentially having a greater impact on a particular property in question.
And I forgot to mention, the huge impact that it's having is that when Lake Simcoe expands these areas due to other things that the town, for example, is allowed to have built, our insurances go up. Or suddenly the insurance phones us and says, hey, do you have a reverse slope? Do you have new EP zoning? And we're scrambling to get insured.
So what I'm going to do,
Huge impacts.
thank you for the question and the comments. What we're going to do is maybe just ask Rob. Rob, can you provide a little clarification on sort of how those maps are created and what type of research and science is done to create them? I think it's important for folks to know how you develop those.
The maps, they change once a year, April 1st. If there's any changes to be made, they're published April 1st. That's it.
Yeah, April Fool's. What the land developers want.
I'm trying
Guys, keep it simple.
to answer an appropriate question. And wetlands that are changed or remapped or shrunk or expanded by M&R for wetlands, we have to incorporate. Floodplain maps are changed based on any new modeling that comes in. We get new digital elevation models that are much more accurate. And majority of times, 90% of the time, floodplains shrink. They don't expand. Because we actually have much better data and more understanding of the flood system because of the better models we have, better tools, the science and rigor that goes into that. If it was a wetland or area and then M&R changed it, yes, it will expand. But I'm subject to the province's mapping, and I have to respond to their mapping. I have to include it in our regulation. It's required. So if they add a wetland or expand a wetland, I have no choice but to expand that mapping.
But if it's not a wetland,
If it's floodplain and
it's always been there.
and sometimes we get the models can change, and the floodplain changes, we have the information that will change that. If it's a site, I can look at your, talk to you specifically about your property to understand.
Mine is
Okay.
everyone.
If I have a property studies, I can look at it, but that's globally, watershed wide. That's how the mapping is updated, only once a year.
So I have a question, just directly related to that. So what do little guys like us do if we feel that the mapping on our properties isn't land truth?
And on that,
So the question is, thank you for the question. I think it's a good question. The question is, if you're a resident and if you see that there's been changes to the mapping that affect your property, how do you pursue questions and clarification about that, Rob?
So this is a common, if it's a wetland, you have to go to the province and Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry and discuss, is my property wetland, why is it wetland, what kind of wetland, how is that? They are the adjudicator of that component. This floodplain, one of the things we sit down, we ask, do you have a property survey, when you bought the house or bought the property or you built something, and we can look at the elevations of your property and say, is the mapping correct or not correct, and if it's not correct, we adjust them. If it is correct, then it's correct. So we do that routinely.
So how is that process? We come to you guys, we have to pay money when we ask this question?
No, for that, if you have a question about here, that helps for you. Come to our counter and deal with my staff. We have two dedicated spots with the live computer monitors, and we can look at every property, what's on your property, what is it, why is it there, what was the data behind it, what created it, so we can really drill down to find out, is there an issue, is there a mistake in the mapping, or is it something else?
Okay, and are those dated, those changes, or is this fluid changing of map other than April 1st?
Okay.
Old versions?
So April 1st is when if there's any updates, we roll them out once a year. So we're not doing this, as I've heard that we do them at a whim or every once in a while. I know, but we do April 1st. And that's it. But yes, everything that is changed, either for the good or for the bad, depending on your viewpoint, there's a complete system on how that's tracked, what the data was that went in that, where did the data come from? Did it come from the province? Did it come from us? Did it come from the developer? Everything is the one thing we track extremely well is the data and the sources of how we develop these maps. That these maps are used in court cases, prosecutions, development scenarios, town submissions, building roads. So the information has to be critically kept.
Thank you.
But the province
Thanks, Ron.
isn't helpful, right? Regulation.
We got another question right here.
If things don't change, right, as things currently stand, the value of my property has dropped significantly. Now, but our taxes keep going up and up and up. Now, is there going to be an adjustment in our taxes to lower them?
Well, property refund.
Not at all.
Property refund. We're all.
So the question is, as there's changes, either,
Restricting the use of my property.
yeah, if there's additional restrictions in property, is there any sort of property tax rebate program? The answer is no. What I can tell you is that you've heard from staff a little bit earlier that the zoning bylaw, and Mr. Webster mentioned it a few minutes ago, it was in effect 22 years ago in 1997, is the zoning bylaw that council has asked be maintained. And so any changes that might exist on your property would be due to something potentially other than the zoning bylaw. I can't speculate on what that might be. Another question? Yes.
One big thing that we always talk about is the illegal dumping in the fill and that sort of thing. The conservation fee schedule is so out to lunch, it's not even funny. I had a neighbor that built a property next to mine. It's created areas where they don't drain anymore. I wanted to raise my front yard up just 4 inches so it doesn't flood in the spring. The kids can play soccer. I came to Conservation Authority and you guys wanted over $14,000 for the permit for me to bring it uphill and just to do it. I want to do things properly, but this is why everybody's doing behind the facts. It's almost impossible to get and this isn't wetland, this isn't anything, it's just part of the conservation jurisdiction. I can't even do the work that I want to do with what you guys charge for fees. I spend the 15%.
So the question was, if I'm not mistaken, if I heard you correctly, sometimes you may have had something done in an adjoining property, it's had some impact on your own property. When you go to make adjustments on your property, you're saying if you go to do it with the appropriate permits and so on, there's fees and sort of steps that have to be taken that you're saying are cumbersome and unaffordable for you. Is that correct?
Yes, it's not something that a resident can afford. You haven't even paid for the work yet, which is cheaper than the fees. It's totally unreasonable. 6 truckloads of topsoil, and you guys want us to charge close to $2,000 per permit?
So perhaps, Rob, you could just talk a little bit about just sort of how the permits work, what the fees are, and sort of if there's any sort of things that are done to try and ease that burden on the residents.
Yeah, I think so. But I get specific on your property, because I don't know about that, but the legal fill is the biggest concern that we face. And the main reason we have a legal fill isn't because of the fee that we charge, is that number one, there's not enough legal disposal sites anywhere. There just aren't. And also the ones that are legal, there's a couple large sites in there which are still built off Bloomington. You probably see a lot of trucks in the 404. The issue is they're tipping fees 120 a dump truck load. The illegal sites that pop up everywhere are charging $50 a dump. So the people that are accepting the material make $50 a load, as an example, or $75 a load, and the people that the soil are disposing it at $50 to $60 less a load. So yeah, I'm going to take that deal, even though it's illegal. And the enforcement ability around illegal fill is very set. I have almost no power other than prosecution, and so I catch someone in the illegal fill site. It will take me 2 to 3 years to take it through the court process. If there is a fine, the province receives a fine. I don't do that. If I could maybe get a restoration order, which is typically ignored, and the process goes on and on and on. So the illegal site is something that we've been doing with the town for years, and we will be doing for years. It's the one area that to be honest, praying for some provincial intervention to help us along, all of us along on that. But on the fees, on filling, the fees were set up, they really are established to deter, to create hazard lands are not the place to be putting soil and fill, especially if we don't know every time what's in it. But on property-specific things for top dressing or for some small areas, I'm glad to talk to you, and I just don't know enough about your specifics.
What's the maximum fine for illegal fill?
From the Conservation Authorities Act?
Well, what's the maximum fine?
grand.
$10,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can easily compensate ourselves for property value loss tags by, filling our properties for 50, 60 bucks a month.
What I'm going to recommend, folks, is if you are aware of situations in your adjoining properties or other properties that are filling inappropriately or illegally, I think it's important that those be brought forward to either the authority if it's an authority regulated land or to the town if it's town lands that aren't regulated, because I think that's something that even if there's sort of limited steps that can be taken, I think we need to be taking every and all available steps to deal with that so that all the properties and all the residents are treated fairly. Is there any other questions just before we go back to the informal? Yes, please.
Property, the reduction in what it's worth. You made a comment saying the building regulations are the same. But to be honest, we've been watching and monitoring this very closely, and I've had some developers look at our property. And now they're just saying they want to see how this pans out. So if that was the case, then they wouldn't have said it's just right?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't hear the first part of your comment.
You were saying that our property value shouldn't be, we shouldn't be worried about our property values because the buildings, the building, whatever, building laws are the same.
Yeah, so I'm not speculating one way or the other on your property values. I'm not commenting on your property
Okay,
values.
so what I'm saying is that it's not the case. Our property value is increasing, and whoever bought property in East Gwillimbury didn't buy it because we thought that there was going to be some new issue with watershed or some other kind of regulation that's going to happen. Like we were doing this as like, a retirement savings or whatever. We invest here, right? So now our properties are going down in value. You guys are building a highway right through, where you're saying there's an issue. So for me, as an owner, and I own 65 acres on Bathurst Street, right? Half of it is going to this. Half of this is going to be on this. So, what am I looking at the next 50 years when I want to sell this property? I'm losing that value. So, how am I going to be compensated? The only place I can come and talk about this is here, right now. And obviously, I don't have any control of what's going to happen. It's all you guys. So, all of us are standing here looking at you. We got issues. We got developments going in. We don't get a piece of that, number one. Our ditches are filling up with water, and that's for sure. Okay? And the second thing is our property values are going down. So, it's just appalling that I'm sitting here and listening to all this, and this person's saying this, and this person's saying this. But these are the facts that we're concerned with. So how are these facts going to get addressed?
Can we explain Friday Harbor? Friday Harbor was wet land, was it not? And then they sold the land with all those regulations, and now they don't have them anymore?
So the question, the comment was about property values and what happens with property values changing, the regulations and different things change. And so I can't comment on, for example, some of the changes that were made back in the early 2000s around Greenbelt, Oak Ridges Moraine, the provincial policy statements and so on. That was close to 15 years ago. There was a pretty significant impact on all across Ontario at that point, and certainly largely in East Gwillimbury. What I can tell you is in terms of your concerns, this evening is an opportunity for you to not only voice those concerns, have conversations with each other, and also where there's issues that are appropriate to the town's jurisdiction. You must be reminded, if you don't mind, that the town has jurisdiction over local matters. The authority has jurisdiction over the regulated areas as defined by the province, and then the province has control over the provincially regulated pieces as well. And so, from that standpoint, there's a number of different levels of jurisdiction, and I can understand, quite frankly, sitting in the shoes of the folks in the audience today, that gets pretty darn frustrating at times. Because I don't want to deal with 3 or 4 different layers, I want to deal with one. So we're doing our best to try and provide a venue for you folks to talk to me, but I do think we need to be candid with you and say, when it comes to making changes at either the authority level or the provincial level, level, unfortunately, that's not going to happen at the municipal level because we don't have the jurisdiction. But we can certainly try and provide you with enough venue like this for information sharing and gathering so that you can at least be informed and then can advocate for the things that are important to you appropriately. There was another question at the back. Okay. Thank you for the comment. Your question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I heard a comment. So is there a question there?
Yes.
Oh, so Marco will answer the question. It's a mapping question.
John, I know what your question is. I know we've talked about this. So you're looking at the map that still has that's under appeal. So you are looking at something that has a rural, but the EP zoning over it that was appealed last year. What I've been telling the people who've all been saying, what council approved last May 2018 is reflected in those maps behind you. And if you look at your property, John, it no longer has the dual zoning. It has a single original rural zone, or in other situations, it's back to the residential zone. So, right, you came in the office, you're looking at the current zoning bylaw, still has the appeal hanging over it. But again, our intent here is to resolve that, and it's reflected in those maps. So anybody who wants to know what the zoning on the property is, the maps behind you will identify what the zoning is.
Ask my question. But the other half was, in the conservation authority going to recommend, they're saying, this recommendation on 60 meters would be no restrictions used, i.e. perhaps and apply EP zoning for the remainder of the lot. In other words, everything is contingent on all the houses. And this is from the conservation authority. We hear one thing from the map from the town, another thing from the conservation authority. And what we're most worried about is the inclusion of the bylaw, which states that we will accept other agencies' regulations
move the EP line on every road-facing lot back 60 meters to allow for increased developable areas on all those lots at that time on the draft map, was to create more frontage space on the roads and decrease the EP zone. That
Why is there EP zones on the remainder of my cars?
we do not, the conservation authority does not delineate or place the zoning. We only have the regulation maps. The only map that the authority has control over or the ability to deal with is the regulation map.
Okay, so
Just to be clear on that. And our maps only change once a year.
this is not your map.
No,
Okay, so whose map is it?
it's towns.
All right,
The towns.
town first.
So
But
we're,
again,
we're back.
I'll just say, accepting any other modifications to the bylaw to include other agencies' maps.
That's a,
Potentially kills it.
that's right, that's a question for the market. I don't agree.
So folks, we're gonna have 2 more questions, but we do want to get back to more dialogue for you folks, because we're a little over what we had hoped to get you back to dialogue with staff. So I know there was an individual in the back who wanted to ask a question, and there's another one right here. So the two, just first at the back.
I have very great concern that this evening, there's been a lot of comments, there's been a lot of great information from the public, because it's a very sensitive issue. There are layers, as you mentioned, it's hours and hours of reading to go through all the layers of laws and not just go to charter law. I personally would like to demand the town of East Gwillimbury tonight provide full disclosure of where these 1,000 acres are. 1,000 acres of land, we plan on giving, without so much as a signature, a handshake, to say that we're hoping. Why would you not wait? We have already gone very long. I understand that we want to get this done, we want to set a resolution, we all want this solved. But there is no sound business person with any option who would make a deal for what is probably the value of $20 to $50 million on so much as an open affair, and the word of a solicitor that we will go to the LPAC and not force people off, and make the assertion that it is the town's position that these are administrative changes to the bylaw. Yet I asked repeatedly in emails if there was going to be one word of a change. I am an LPAC party status member. I was told nothing. So why, if it is purely administrative nature, is it not put in a document decided?
The 1,000 acres you asked for, ma'am, Mr. Robuto will show you ownership of every single acre. There's a map at the back that clearly shows it.
And you will not be taking, so you're promising tonight you will not take public land. You will declare these lands open to the public.
The 1,000 acres are public lands, they're not private
But
lands.
you haven't shown us a map of what they are.
Actually, there is a map at the back that I believe Mr. Robuto, do you have a map tonight, Mr. Robuto, that clearly shows? We do not have a hard copy, I apologize, but we do have a static copy, and that can be provided to everybody over.
Because my concern is that it hasn't been disclosed why those lands were acquired in the first place, and what will happen now as a result of them becoming EP.
So we will.
My question and ask to the council is that they have this meeting tonight so that people can begin to be brought up to speed. The public was promised in July at council the whole meeting to educate the public. One evening is sincerely not enough, and nor is every member of the town of East Gwillimbury been duly notified. Will the town of East Gwillimbury put this on hold and remove
I think.
from the agenda for Monday? You cannot even digest the comments, I don't believe,
So-
that are going to occur in this meeting by Monday.
Okay, so. Thank you. Thank you.
There you go, you got the whole room.
Thank you. Okay, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. We understand the point. Thank you. We're going to excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Sir, can you hang on a second, please? I can appreciate your comment. What I will ask you to do, if you don't mind, we have staff at the side table that are taking any and all input that you might have that you'd like to be brought back to council in any sort of formal way. If you could pass that along, staff have heard you, but I would recommend that you also have a conversation directly with our planning staff. There was one of that.
Process all comments from everybody.
I'm sorry?
By tomorrow, like, they have to have comments by midnight.
Thank you.
You guys have enough staff to process all those comments?
When you come to a meeting like this, you don't have a pre-conceived outcome. We've received a lot of information tonight. There's a lot of questions to answer. We are in no hell-bent direction to bring forward a report. We'll make sure when we bring forward a report, it reflects all the comments tonight. I've learned a lot tonight personally about trying to add 4 inches of topsoil as your front line. And, you might not have to do with the zoning bylaw. I also know there seems to be a lot of interest in what the province is doing, and we'd like to get those folks out here a little bit more. We will bring a report back to council when staff feel that we've had enough time to put all good comments and all the questions concerned, and that's why we'd like to open this up and get a little bit more interaction at the staff level. And we're going to try to come back with the best facts we can at the time and make the best recommendations possible to move this matter.
Do you have any intentions on amending the bylaw on September 17th?
We were planning initially to see how this evening went, and if we can do an addendum and add it. I think our agenda at this point in time, given what's happened tonight, might take a little longer to digest all of the input, make sure we're getting comments back to people. I think the thing about questions and answers, though, sometimes people don't like the answers. We're going to give you the factual answers the best we can, and we'll bring forward the bylaw to council for consideration when we feel we have answered the questions of this evening.
Do you have any written agreement that they're going to drop the appeal at all? Have you guys had any discussion? Can we see something in writing that over the last, how long, since December 11th? None of us have been really in contact with anybody else. You guys have all been meeting without us.
Like, you know what? I think it's been a helpful discussion, but we don't have anything in writing. And
isn't that important?
Well, what we'd like to do is we're going to deal with a partner. They are municipal partners of ours.
We're your partners too.
Partners in a respectful manner, like we deal with the public. Okay?
Yeah, we pay you.
Yeah.
We're partners.
I think tonight, I would like to suggest it might be best.
Yeah.
If people have hands up and want to make pointed comments, I'm going to stick around. We're all going to stick around for as long as it takes to hear the comments, and in a respectful manner, we'll try to get you the best answers we can. Okay, that's all I can answer. Mr. Gamble, you seem to want to make some concluding comments.
I would just like to make a comment while everyone's here. I have a member of the Gwillimbury Landowners Association. We've been very vocal in this matter. I'm sure you'll agree. Councilors have the past 2 or 3 sessions agreed that we would have multiple meetings. They would not just be a one-on-one. They would be to seek consultation with the public, just as we're doing here today. And then, when asked a question, everyone gets the answer, which is what we want. So I would request we do this as a non-statutory meeting. Mayor Maxson suggested at one point, if I'm not mistaken, that we could do one in each, major town. Sheridan, Alberta, Kingston. Because people are just not happy. Period. They want their private property. I think that everything that we've seen, that was the #1 issue. Get off my property. Plain and simple. So anyway, we can have lots of non-statutory meetings. And as well, Mayor Maxson said that we would not rush this. We would have many meetings as was required to get these input from the clients. I would just like to make sure that's done. And I will also comment that we asked to have status this evening so that we can make a presentation. Now, the town has made one, the region has made one, the province could have made one. But that's all
one side of the door. We're the other side. We're the guys that complain. Do we not deserve to be heard? An organization should put together a lot of different people. And I think a lot of people here tonight will admit this. Actually, how many people are here because of something East Gwillimbury Landowners Association did? Okay. Which goes back to what we've been saying from day one. Despite the fact that the town has legally advised with a tiny little ad paper to say, oh, by the way, we're going to do a municipal-wide evaluation of this. Yeah, doesn't sweep me. If you say, hey, we're looking at environmental plans and properties, and this will affect, okay, you're going to get my name. So it's only by getting the word out there. The rest will have to the control. They're all
So, Mr. Campbell, we respect your concluding comments, and we will, I'll say the word again, respectfully bring all comments to council for further direction. Okay, thank you.
Maybe we can get some front page newspapers.
Other questions or so on, please take the time to seek out the staff. We're going to be here for quite some time, so there's all sorts of opportunities still to